that time?
We are live. Hello. How are you? Good afternoon. You know what? I feel weird on this side of the screen. Welcome to our video. Today it's Wednesday, and we have a new video of our season number 3 of Seniors Real Estate Services, and whatever the name is. I'm Sandra Roman. Real estate agent with Keller Williams. Today I'm with my friend Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
Good. Who's next to you?
This is Diane.
Diane Facina.
And, we cannot hide our guest today.
I'm back again.
She's a friend of the show, and we are happy to have her back today with another topic.
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
What's the agenda?
So Diane is going to talk about fall prevention and recovery. As you know, Diane is an expert in the field. She is our in-house occupational therapist.
Ring bell.
Oh, no, that's later.
I don't get a bell.
No, you don't get a bell.
No.
So we're continuing our series. This is our third in our series on senior wellness. And we are running this series for to get information out there on senior resources that are available so everyone in the community can have access to, have the contact information. And that's why we're doing this. So this is number 3 in our third season. And if everybody could say hello in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. And that's it.
Where can they find you, Denise?
Before you ask me, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor, and just my name, anywhere else. And that's it. Real estate agent with Keller Williams. I'm a senior real estate specialist, and we are providing the service for all our seniors and everyone else out there.
And I am Diane Facina. I am an occupational therapist. I do per diem now, and I work in elder care currently at the moment, although my background was in younger folks back in the day in trauma care, and now I'm doing elder care in this latter part of my career. I also am able to go in and organize people's home, clean out people's homes for moves. I have my own little thing on the side called Organize 101 by Diane. I can be found on Facebook and Instagram, just my name, Diane Facina, nothing fancy. And I can post my picture, my phone number at the end.
And we are live today on Denise's Facebook page, on my Facebook page, on my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and leave us your comments. Leave us your comments in Facebook too. Join to our group. Diane. Denise, what's the name of the group?
Senior Services Resource Group.
Okay.
So go to Senior Services Resource Group and request to become a member, and I'll approve you.
She's the approving girl. And share this video if this information is good for someone that you know. We are here for 6 weeks. This is our 3rd week. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube as Sandra Roman Real Estate. I'm there everywhere. And let's start.
All righty. So the topic is fall prevention and recovery. And tonight I'll be discussing first the statistics, what can cause a fall, environmental factors, what happens as a result of a fall to people in general, not just our elderly. There are factors or injuries that can happen to the elderly that are more common with them than I would say younger folks per se, and preventative measures that I'm sure all of us could benefit from, including myself. So with that said, let's start off with talking a little bit about statistics this evening. This is from AARP, who we all know and love. So 60% of the falls can occur in your home. 10% of them can happen outside of the home, maybe at a supermarket, falling off a curb, falling off a step, getting off a bus, tripping on something outside, maybe an unlevel surface of concrete, things of that nature can occur. I'm sure there's vast many more. And then, of course, 10%.
That happened to my mom. She fell on the street, just walking.
I've fallen myself going up my own steps in my own home, things of that nature. Rushing doesn't help, right? And then 10% happen in healthcare centers, which I will go more into that and what they do in those environments for that. There are special protocols and measures that they take that, I think it's good to talk about in a generalized fashion. I don't like to give too much information based on the overall encompassing of what corporations or companies do at this point, but I can tell you what they try to do to prevent these things from occurring. So what causes a fall? Generally, what can cause a fall in mostly anyone, but more apparent, more so in our elderly or as we grow older, decreased balance and muscle weakness. So for every day that you sit on a couch, you lose 3% of muscle mass. So what does that mean? 3% of muscle mass that's lost cause weak muscles. Our muscles are, especially our lower extremities, geared to accelerate us to balance. Our core and our spine muscles help us balance ourselves. A lot of core muscles help us. And so it's really important to even get up and walk every day. Just
it's like the Ahmed that we were talking last week about movement. He was talking about muscles and how they move or something.
Yes, I saw that. He was very good. I think it's very important to note that we don't have to be, on the Nike commercials or things of that nature. I'm getting a little older now, and just the other night on my treadmill, my treadmill has different classes on it. So all I did was 12 minutes of abs, and it wasn't complicated at all. It's in circuits. And then I did a 29-minute arm workout. I didn't walk. I didn't hike. It depends on what you want to do the night you want to do it. Also, walking helps with your core muscles completely, and posture, of course. Walking helps with that. The other things that can cause a fall is diabetes. With diabetes comes decreased circulation and paresthesias. So paresthesias are something that it's almost like a wire in your house is short circuiting, where you see your lights flickering in your house. That's what happens to the nerves in your body when you have diabetes or what we call neuropathies. So it's like the wires in your body are short circuiting, and they're causing all this little tingling and numbness feeling. Now they have Lyrica and all these other medications on the market and whatnot. It's not a cure-all that I can say that would happen. With diabetes comes other...
a lot of complications, right?
Yeah, and everybody's diabetes is different. So that's a generalized overview of that. Decreased vision. So some people have glaucoma, and what that comes with is depth perception. So glaucoma is different. Sometimes you have like the tunnel vision, and other glaucomas have other derivative issues that come with that. I forget what they are. Of course, I learned them in school. And with depth perception problems, if you're negotiating steps, you can miss a step.
Yeah, because you think it's closer or it's farther away. Yes. You cannot see how the real distance, right?
Correct. Cataracts, some people don't like to go to the doctor, so they avoid getting their cataracts done. Macular degeneration can cause what we call legal blindness, all these things in the elderly. Circulation issues, which kind of piggybacks with that of diabetes, but sometimes circulatory issues can come from other things. So when you have renal disease, such as dialysis, where your kidneys shut down, right? Your kidneys are shutting down and you have to go to dialysis. That is another animal that gets onto itself of circulatory issues. You're not going to be able to get your urine out, so you got to go for dialysis 3 times a week, and that causes all these other comorbidities or co-problems that can piggyback this disease process. Pulmonary issues. The chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, otherwise known as COPD. Imagine, if you will, you're stuck on oxygen and you have the oxygen tank or apparatus in your house, and you have this long cord that you're carrying around with you.
Yeah, you can trip with that.
Yeah, 3 steps can exhaust you. You see these commercials. It's a known fact. You really shouldn't smoke. With smoking, cause constriction of your alveoli, which is the blood gas exchanges in your body, and these things can cause us to have all these other compounding factors, decreased breath. Primarily, a lot of people with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease often will report that they have an elephant sitting on their chest, like the commercial that we often see. Also, they have anxiety. Imagine if you can't breathe. You have severe anxiety around that. And having worked, Denise and I working with these patients for years, and together working them and individually, they're coupled with anxiety. And I would be too, So anxiety comes with a lot of pulmonary diseases, dementias. So when you see somebody with, look at your dog, somebody with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body disorder, which is another type of dementia, which I will not go into this evening. We can talk about all that another night if you want. Parkinsonianisms, multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is something that can happen younger in life. But having said that, dementia and Alzheimer's unto itself causes movement disorders. So what I mean by that is that we get these festinating type gaits, and oftentimes, they have Parkinson's disease. No, that not necessarily. We're not doctors. We're not diagnosticians. You often see these gaits that festinate, this inability to coordinate your body anymore. These are all motor planning problems, right? So if you have dementia, walking is a road activity. Eating is a road activity. However, talking to a person that has dementia, oftentimes they have inner distractibility. Just to get them to stand up is a whole nother animal unto itself. And then getting them to walk and getting them to accelerate their feet from one stance or cadence, I should say, to the next is complicated. So, imagine this person with dementia walking around their house, and you're not looking for 1 minute and they fall. It's very, very common, unfortunately. Alzheimer's, of course, is more accelerated. Every dementia and Alzheimer's patient is different per se, but these things can cause severe falls, obviously. Believe it or not, depression. So I can't hear you, Sandra.
I was, I was silent. Why depression?
Okay, so I'm going to be very transparent here tonight. My mother suffers from, and I guess I shouldn't let her watch this episode. Sorry, Mom. Major depressive disorder. Well, she's not on the computer right now. She doesn't even have one. So people with major depressive disorder, oftentimes, I'm talking about in the elderly, how major depressive disorder can couple with dementia and look like dementia. And if you don't move that person or engage that person in activities or get them to walk, they just want to sit all day. They don't have initiation skills to get up and move around and take care of themselves. So what happens is, if you're sitting and you're sedentary that much, you start getting into this mode of movement type disorder type things. I'd like to say
that happened to my grandfather. That happened to my father-in-law.
Yeah,
he was having like dementia plus like depression. And
right. Well, it depends on what comes first. My mother.
I think it was a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother does not have dementia. Just for the record, she's been tested, but major depressive disorder can couple with dementia because you're not getting that stimulation, and then the brain starts to go down from that. Yes. So depression can cause falls, and what happens is, if you have such severe depression where you're not moving, you're impacting the rest of your body, physically speaking.
Yes.
Not necessarily your mind. or you try to do something. Like I remember watching my mom when she was first diagnosed with this. She was so disorganized and she couldn't even think to like open the refrigerator, grab something, to then get the coffee going, to then make eggs, like, and then she would turn and her balance was like all off, you know, and luckily we have somebody in the home caring for my parents, but you know, all these things can happen. This is only from my experience. You know, arthritic changes, rheumatological issues, osteoporotic disorders cause crepitus. So crepitus is something where it's bone on bone and clicking on clicking, which, you know, we get up in the morning now. I don't know about the rest of you, but I click. I'm not going to fall though, but clicking.
Me too.
Yeah, it's great. You don't have any of those problems, Sandra. We know.
I don't. At 35, you don't have those problems.
I know. You're so lucky.
I am.
So anyway, osteoarthritis, rheumatological issues causes stiffness in our joints. So imagine that you're trying to get up feeling like, you know, Frankenstein in your own body, as many of them report, and then trying to get up from a surface and then you just can't move and you can then fall over yourself in a sense, you know. I mean, I can demonstrate some of these things, but I don't think anybody wants me to do that. So also another thing to note is oftentimes in the elderly, we know that they don't eat and drink properly. UTIs happen, right? So UTIs happen and then they can fall from that and confusion gets more.
What is a UTI?
Urinary tract infection. Sorry.
Okay.
So urinary tract infection causes like a temporary encephalopathy or a temporary confusion, if you will. Again, having experience with this in the field and a family member, UTIs can be very detrimental to the elderly, very detrimental to the elderly. And then of course, younger people, it can obviously do damage too. So what happens when you are dehydrated, you have something called a syncopal episode or orthostatic hypotension, where your blood pressure would maybe be normally 120 over 80, or in my case, mine is like 118 over 70. It could bottom out to 95 over 56, and you're going to fall. It's just a known fact. You're here, and then your blood pressure goes here.
Goes down.
You're going to fall.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen out of nowhere. And you're just, what happened? Most patients don't remember this syncopal episode. It's where your body just goes and it's almost like you're fading in space and you fall. Tripping over our pets, our dogs, our cats, our rugs, throw rugs. That's the most famous thing.
Your feet.
Yes, right. Which is coupled
sometimes you do nothing and you just
boom, you're rushing. You know, as I talked about before, rushing, you know, we probably still rush in our lives, the three of us doing things, getting things done. We're all very busy people these days. It's very common. Decreased sleep. So as we grow older, our sleep patterns dramatically change for whatever reason. You know, menopausal issues can occur with women. That's fun. I love that. Insomnia is horrific. Severe insomnia can be very detrimental. Severe insomnia can actually cause increased confusion. If you do not sleep enough, your brain cannot function the way it's supposed to function. Sleep fatigue, getting tired throughout the day, losing track of things, then remembering one thing to the next, and then rushing to get that done. A fall can occur from those episodes. You know, and there's so many other stories we can go into and examples, but that's pretty much the first, you know, section of this discussion piece this evening.
Well, Marie said her husband is in the hospital with the UTI and he almost fell down the stairs. Sorry to hear that, Marie.
Sorry, Marie. Hopefully, you know, you can get him back. Hopefully you can get him back to, you know, health that you need and incorporate drinking fluids. It's so common. You know, we often don't remember to drink even at work or whatever our daily life is. I cannot begin to tell you how important getting the proper food and nutrients are into our bodies as we grow older. It's very important. So what are some environmental factors that cause falls? So the famous one, as you discussed already, Sandra, was stairs. Stairs are a big, 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 big problem.
Little steps, little uneven, little steps and uneven surfaces that you don't see, boom, they fell.
And none of us want to leave our blessed homes as we grow older. In fact, I'm still doing construction on my house. I have 2 more rooms left to go. And one day I'm going to be very, very, very sad to say goodbye to this home that I currently live in, but it's a split. Oh. So the idea of us staying there till we're elder is not reasonable to say. Mm-hmm. So stairs are a huge problem. Poor lighting is a huge problem. Oftentimes in the elderly, they love to shut everything off for whatever reason that is, whether it's their vision, their monetary situation. Oftentimes people turn off their lights because they don't have enough money to pay for their electric.
I think that's just old school. We always turn off the light when you leave a room. I do it.
I do too.
Lights and go around the house. My kids leave every light in the house on all the time. It drives me crazy.
I like light, but Michael loves to dim the lights like, we're watching a horror movie every night. Clutter. So let's talk about clutter and hoarding in the elderly population.
It happens a lot.
Big problem. Yeah.
I mean, you ladies being in the real estate industry, you go into these homes and you're probably flabbergasted at the environment that you can walk into, which of no fault of anybody's. We all think what everybody else is somebody's junk, it's valuable to that person. So like I discussed in the last year when I talked about, other things with elderly care, it's important to know that, getting rid of things is hard for people, but they often hoard, and hoarding is a very generalized term. But when you look at somebody's environment, what is their furniture like? How many pieces of furniture do they have? What's the rug set up in the house? How much stuff do they have on the floors? Mm-hmm. What do they have in their cabinets and things like that? Having gone into several people's homes so far, I went to one house. It was a disaster.
I went to one house like a month ago.
Yeah.
They only had this little space in the living room to sit down, go to the kitchen, and a little space of the kitchen, go to the bathroom, and to a little side of the bedroom of the bed in the bathroom. Everything else was bags and bags and bags of, I don't know, clothing stuff everywhere. Yeah. And they were an elderly couple. And the lady had movement problems as well. So I don't know.
Yeah. And it's sad. And, as you ladies navigate these waters, oftentimes they probably will listen to you more than their own children. So you may or may not have more success at times. My approach to people is very gentle, believe it or not, although I'm an assertive person. Often in my personal life, when you're talking with the elderly, and now even my own mother, you can't put blame on people. You have to accept the way they are and say, out of these 3 objects, what do you think you can bear to part with? Like I talked about last season about different things. So there's that. There's the too much furniture topic, like we discussed. There's lack of adaptive equipment. So when we talk about equipment that we talked about last season, walkers, commodes, shower chairs, ramps to get into the house, the widening of the doorways to get into the doorways or the hallways in the house can sometimes be difficult when you have a walker. So, as educators, you folks are also educators as real estate agents. You're educating these people how to sell their house, what to do, maybe how to encourage different things to occur here. Oftentimes, even when I did home care, shower chairs, commodes, ramps, getting maybe a little chair that has a lift to it to help them get up safer, and things like that. Often where people sleep, people sleep on recliners, believe it or not. Yeah. So these things happen. Wet floors. So, we're doing the dishes and we turn rather the dishwashers to the right or the left of us, of the sink, depending upon how our kitchen's built. I had a patient once who was putting her dishes in her dishwasher and the water got on the floor and she slipped forward into the dishwasher face first.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had a guy many years ago at Mount Sinai where he was folding his clothes on his bed, tipped backwards and hit the back of his head, and had sustained a severe spinal cord injury. And the dresser, neck literally jammed in to the back of his neck, and he sustained a spinal cord injury from that. So you see some crazy things happen to people. Poor shoes. So let's talk about the blessed slippers.
My mom loves those shoes because she lives in a very hot climate. So it's like always using these just shoes that she just slips, her feet inside the shoes. And I'm like, Mom, you need to use a different shoe because she keeps, tripping and falling because of the type of shoes she's wearing.
Yeah, flip-flops. So
yeah.
I have a crazy dog that I walk, and I don't know, several weeks ago when it was raining, I wore flip-flops and I walked back in the house. I'm like, there must be something wrong with me that I would walk this dog with flip-flops. I mean, that was just stupid. So I changed immediately because God forbid, fell. Driveways. I have a very depth. My driveway I live up on a hill. So when you walk down that driveway with the dog, it can be very, very dangerous. What am I going to do? This is what I have. Sometimes I'll put him in the car on a rainy day and I'll back up and then I'll get out of the car with the dog in it and then walk. Seriously, I do these things. So poor shoes, slippers that don't have backs to them.
Yes.
Those are fantastic. I love those. My father wears these big clunky luggy shoes and he's 85 and he's still very vain. So that runs in the family, by the way. But he wears these big clunky shoes and he shouldn't be wearing them. And we try to tell him, but whatever. So climbing ladders. Climbing ladders.
Big problem.
Huge.
My mom hits all the points. She climbs ladders. She uses the wrong shoes. She does all those things.
Yeah.
So she
keeps having accidents.
My uncle at 88 decided it was a good idea to climb his ladder to fix his garage door opener.
Oh, God.
And did not turn off the power. So he got electrocuted and fell off the ladder.
When did that happen?
Broke his pelvis in 2 places and his arm. He's still 3 months later in rehab. Well, actually, he just went back to the hospital. But I think Diane's going to talk about it a little bit more because then after that, he had a fall in the rehab. So big problem. It's not a good decision to make to go up on the ladder.
Yeah.
And he said it over and again. What made me think I could do that? I don't know. But you did it. So
not a good idea.
No.
Not a good idea at all for any of us at any age. So, uneven surfaces we talked about and lack of, adaptive devices. So what happens as a result of falls? So most elderly sustain pelvic and hip fractures, sustain shoulder, elbow, and hand fractures. There's something called, the famous one called a foosh injury. You output your hands like so, like so. And you have a wrist injury. It's called a foosh injury where you sustain what's called a distal radial fracture. So it's the radial bone. Where am I? Okay. So here.
No,
radial
put your
bone.
hand higher because we cannot see it because of the.
Can you see it, Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, so your radius often gets fractured because there's many bones in here, and there's one bone close to that has very low circulatory output, and it causes often a fracture. So you have what's called a distal radial fracture. You can have an olecranon fracture.
Yeah, my mom had that elbow. One. This one.
And then, of course, a shoulder injury. Yeah. So what happens with those injuries is you are oftentimes non-weight bearing.
What's that?
So if you're non-weight bearing, that means that you cannot put any force through that joint or joints at all. So then you're dealing with somebody who is getting up from a surface with one arm, 2 legs to get them up. However, one might think that that's very simple. It is not. So imagine trying to get up, but oftentimes you're doing this. Our bodies work bilaterally. That's how we were built to operate. If you're taking one of those apparatuses out of the way, hence one limb out of the way, your body's going to become very discoordinated, or how I say a better term, uncoordinated, right? So then you get this person that does this. They do this. I mean, they do all sorts of wackadoodly things. Then imagine that that person may have a shoulder fracture and a pelvic fracture, or a tibia fibula fracture with the 2 bones at the bottom of your leg. And then you get an ankle fracture that usually are non-weight bearing as well. We've dealt with many of those in our careers. It's a mess. And in the elderly, it becomes worse because then you're dealing with somebody who has anxiety on top of that. They're taken out of their natural context and environment. They're disoriented oftentimes. They're in casts, maybe. So then you have another, 5, how much does a cast weigh? Like those hard casts, maybe 5 to 8 pounds. They're heavy. All these little old ladies and these little old men, and I don't want to say, I'm not trying to sound derogatory towards the elderly population, but as you lose muscle mass, you look more frail, right? So it's as if their bodies were just beaten up. One fall causes multiple problems after that.
Yes. It's a very serious thing.
Yeah. And people don't realize it. In the elderly, one fall happens, it's not good. I'm not going to say anything further than that, but it generally is a downfall in a lot of times from there. Yeah. And then other conversations happen, unfortunately, after that time point. It's not a death sentence, but, it depends on the motivation of the person, the family dynamics, all these things coming into play. But it's bad. It can be very detrimental to that person. What else can happen? Spine fractures can occur. We break our backs, then we're in a brace for several weeks. And note to say that when you're non-weight bearing, just to rewind for a minute, generally when you're non-weight bearing, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks. Because if they cast you with a hard cast, most of us know what that is, you're looking at that bone healing under that cast. Sometimes they don't want to go in and do surgical procedures to the elderly because they don't want to put them under anesthesia. So you're looking at this cast wrapped around a joint per se, and that bone healing underneath all of that. And that's usually 6 to 8 weeks. So then it's maybe partial weight bearing. So it depends. Like, is that 50%? That's, the way you put their foot on a scale and you can see that, believe it or not. Toe touch weight bearing, which is you're literally walking on the tippy toe like you're a ballerina on one foot. And then finally weight bearing. It's a long road. It's not just overnight. I just wanted to say that for the record. Spine fractures. Another common problem is a head injury. So head injuries is another whole topic for another evening that we can certainly dive into. There's many types of head injuries, but when you fall, your head can hit the ground, and oftentimes you can hit this way or anyway, really. It all depends, you know, but we fall. And then our brain doesn't like that. No. So oftentimes with that happening, it depends. I'm not going to say that everybody goes into a coma and all this extravagant, you know, jibber jabber, but things can happen from a brain injury. Brain injuries cause confusion. They cause disorientation, you know, meaning they're not oriented, but they're alert. It can cause, you know, a bleed to happen in the brain, you know, a subdural hematoma, where they go in and they relieve the pressure off the brain. Subarachnoid hemorrhages usually are more neurological and bleeds that come in the brain, but you can sustain a bleed from a fall. Subdural hematomas are more common with those types of head injuries. So that's another whole cyclical factor unto itself. And really at the end of the day, it's about being more cognizant of what we're doing on a daily basis and protecting our elderly from these problems. Mm-hmm. So what do we do to prevent some of these things? Well, depends on who your parents are, right? That's really special. Yeah. And if our parents live out of state like yours, like even literally out of the country, right? Your parents live in another country, Sandra?
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents now live 5 minutes from me. They love every minute of it. They think it's spectacular. They call me the sergeant. So life alert buttons help, you know, carrying
but the alert buttons, where do you put those buttons? Just
they're around your neck like a necklace.
Oh, okay.
They have bracelets too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah.
They have bracelets too. Biggest problem with those is that they don't wear them. They have them, but
they don't wear them.
Funny story about a life alert button. This is actually really funny. So my grandmother had one, and my grandmother was about my stature, 4'11", maybe shorter. She was very bosomy, and the life alert button would be like this over her. So she'd slap it into everything as she was cooking, right? She would love to cook and bake. So she used to hit it. It used to go off. So I used to spend a lot of time with her. And the fire department used to come all the time. It's spectacular. So she'd be like, oh my God, why are they coming to the door? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to go get the door. So they'd come up in the fire truck and they'd come in and they'd knock on the door. And it'd be like, yes. And she'd have them in for hot cocoa. She'd fall. It was great. I think they came back purposely. She made hardcore cocoa. Yeah. She made it from the real powder, the real chocolate. I mean, this cocoa was no joke. So I think they came back for the cocoa.
Oh yeah.
But that, you know, that can happen with the life alert button. And Denise is right. They don't wear it.
Right. Mm-mm. They don't wear it.
They don't wear it. Carrying a cell phone wherever you go. I mean, not literally, but you can. Going to regular doctor's visits. So preventative medicine is the best medicine. It really is, to tell you the truth. And we don't like to go, but it's really important to know, because I can feel when my blood sugars are dropping in the afternoon if I haven't eaten enough in the morning. And that's not a good feeling at all, you know? So imagine if you're a diabetic and your blood sugars are dropping and you fall. So when you do, maybe you don't know you're a diabetic, but with diabetes comes another whole type of symptoms that can occur with people. You know, they're constantly thirsty. They need to eat a lot of sugars. They're craving things. Their urine output is dramatic. These are all pre-diabetic signs and symptoms, by the way. And that can cause falls too, because you just don't know you're a diabetic.
Yeah.
Decreasing the clutter in your home. I mean, all these things are kind of common sense, but it's good to review them. Removing throw rugs and increasing the lighting factors in your house. So when I'm old, it's going to look like Grand Central Station. Michael's going to love that. So that's really kind of what I kind of wanted to say for the evening. I feel like it can go into so many more topics and discussion pieces.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
And it's a little difficult, especially when we go or we grow older. Sometimes we want to do things our way and we don't want to listen to anybody. And that's when it gets complicated.
Yes. Yes. It gets very complicated. I am hoping, watching certain things going on in my own personal affairs at the moment, I don't want to be like that. I will not really have a child. I don't have children. I don't want to, I know that there's going to be other people looking after me per se, but I know that maybe one day I won't be able to drive. Thank God for Ubers. I hate to say that, it's important to stay stimulated through our lifespan, however we choose to do so. Having not worked for many, 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 many months, after seeing some health issues come before me last year with my parents, I didn't work. And what I can tell you comes from that, only being 50 years old, it's not healthy for your brain. Decreased socialization causes decreased depression, causes your memory to your brain to really function a lot. It doesn't matter if you work or not. It matters what you're doing socially. Talking to somebody on the phone. I used to call my friends a lot during the day who I knew were working from home. I would try to go to the stores. I would try to go over my parents' house and engage with them as much as I could, the aid, because I knew most of my friends were working. And there were things I was doing for my parents, but that's called work. But you need to be social, because socialization keeps our cognitive levels higher, generally speaking, believe it or not, which can engage us more about things. And the three of us even having this discussion is getting our brain cells to accelerate themselves in this later hour of the evening. So it's really important. And that's, really kind of what I wanted to cap on this evening about. It's important and how we approach our parents and our elders is another conversation that we can talk about briefly. So when we look at our elders or our aunts and our uncles, I mean, I had a very formidable aunt my whole life. And, she never wanted to listen to anything. And so finally I had to deconstruct her whole life. Well, at that point, the dementia took over and she was in a nursing home. So I was able to kind of do what I had to do. She was a silent person at that point. And I was given full permission by her sister, who's my mother, to do whatever I had to do. So when we approach people and how we approach them, sometimes when we're dealing with difficult people, there are elaborate, embellished stories to get them out of their environment that can work. So it takes a village to do so. Sometimes you need to call upon friends to say, can you come over to get them out of the house? I'm not even kidding. And by that, you have the opportunity to go in and even get food out of their freezer that's rotting. Decluttering an environment without them really knowing. If they have that much stuff, they're not going to know it's gone.
They're not going to know.
That's kind of the tricks that I've, taught people over the years. Grandchildren are a really good catalyst to get elderly out of the house. Oh, let's go see little Sally. So let's go see Sally. They don't talk like that. I'm not mocking, but I shouldn't do that actually. But anyway. So anyway, get them out of the environment and then bring them back to the environment that looks similar to them.
Yeah.
Not overly disturbing for them to get agitated with you or with anybody else that you're close to. Take them out to dinner, then get another family member to go in there to clean up the house.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but white lies can work a lot for people if you need, that's what I can say.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Marissa's parents are stubborn. Yes, they are. They can be very stubborn. They don't want to listen, especially they don't want to listen to their children. They don't think that they're have their best interest at heart for some reason. And it's funny how they'll sometimes just listen to other people like you said, that come in, or even nieces, nephews, whatever. My aunts seem to think that I know everything there is to know about the medicine. I don't know. And they listen to me. But
medications.
Oh, medications, yeah.
That's another topic. So there was recently on the news a topic about how pharmacies are getting medications that aren't really the true medication. So if you have a heart arrhythmia, or what we call atrial fibrillation, where the heart doesn't tick quite the same way that it should, or you have high blood pressure, right? You need to be on medication for that. Also, high blood pressure can cause you to fall as well, and encapsulates multiple other factors. Having said that, medications, if you have to take a very specific medication every single day of your life that can alter how you function. So Flomax is a medication for your urine, which helps with your ability to retain your urine, to hold on to it, right? And you don't take it. That's another thing. If you are incontinent, you can fall rushing to get to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So these medications can cause other problems if you don't take them, which can cause other physiological disorders in your body to accelerate, causing falls. So that's why I say, you know, you may not like a doctor, but you might want to, a lot of elderly, believe it or not, do not have primary care physicians.
No.
A lot of the elderly don't believe in doctors. They don't want to go to the doctor, and they just don't do it.
No.
They don't even know if they have a flu or pneumonia, right? So if you have pneumonia, you are going to become disoriented, fevers, the flu. You know, you might have COVID now. I don't even want to bring that up, but if you have COVID and you don't know, and you're elderly, you know, the level of COVID has changed, right? The virus has morphed and done different things now. But imagine the flu and pneumonia, and you're home alone and you don't know that you're really that sick.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is all things that we need to educate people about and pass it along. And it's good information, Diane.
Well, thank you. We try.
Any questions that we have around, Miss Denise?
Any questions? No, it doesn't look like anybody have any questions. Marie said, thanks, Diane. Love you, ladies. Thanks, Marie.
Love you, Marie.
I hope your husband recovers.
We'll be praying for you guys.
Well,
let us know if you need anything.
And if there's anybody else that has questions, let us know. Next week, we are discussing brain health.
Wow.
Hi,
Who's doing that?
Hi, Kelly.
Who's doing that, Denise?
Julie Wexler is doing that. She has a certification in brain health. Julie Wexler is with the Bristol Assisted Living, and she will be joining us to talk about that. Sure, a lot of it's going to overlap with what you said tonight, but sure, it's going to be great information. The week after that, we have Sandra Brennan, talking about socialization in the elderly and the importance of that. So we have a couple of good things coming up. I hope everyone will keep tuning in. Love to see you guys on here. Anybody else have any questions before we
bring your drinks? Because
Diane
didn't bring her
drinks. What the heck?
I'm gonna play lots of bingo when I'm old.
Yay.
Diane, where can people find you?
Who?
Diane.
Hi, I'm back. So you can. So did you ever wait? I got some funnies. Did you ever see Saturday Night Live? Call me at 555-4444. It's not episode. Anyway.
You can't see that.
You can't even see that.
You can't see that.
So so Diane Facina at 516-474-0516. I do decluttering, organizing, packing, I could also give consultations for adaptive equipment if they'd like, based on my own other, obviously, being an occupational therapist for 25 years. So there you go. That's where I can be found. You can also reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram.
So just one note
Denise.
that I thought was interesting. Somebody I know who just moved from New York to Colorado and had to pack up her house that she was in for 40 plus years. And she said that the best advice she could give someone is pretend you are moving every year or every 6 months. Because then it's going to force you to get rid of stuff that you don't really need. And it's going to help if you ever have to move.
I get rid of stuff all the time. So I recently did construction, and again, I don't think I should have my husband watch this piece. So I'm probably going to get rid of some more of his clothes without him knowing.
Oh.
Shirts.
Oh.
T-shirts. He's not going to watch this piece. And I'm only kidding. Now, maybe I should say that because then, I'm backpedaling myself. But anyway, I got rid of a lot more clothes, different items of the house. And, it's good to pay it forward. There's, just to a note as a side, there's the Goodwills. There's Savers. Savers gives to big brothers and big sisters. We can simply have big brothers, big sisters. You can leave it on your doorstep. My cousin worked with a young girl. Big Brothers Big Sisters, they're an excellent organization. Of course, our beloved veterans we can give to. I believe they also take small housewares, nothing overly gigantic, but you can also sell things on Facebook Marketplace. If you cannot do that, there's also obviously tag sales in front of your house. Oftentimes people are afraid of marketplace and things like that, especially as they grow older. Then there's, of course, the estate sellers that I talked about last season that can do it for you, where they take a percentage. Or, you ladies can also help, obviously, with your advertisement and your savviness of knowing. There's one thing about the real estate agent and agents in the world. They know a lot of people that do a lot of different things. So you guys are very important to our elderly because you can help them get rid of things. And what oftentimes you say to them is we have to stage your house. So when you have to stage their house, they have to pack things up.
Exactly.
And when they pack things up, maybe then you'll tell them, I will donate it for you. And I've done that. I did do that with the one house. I helped them donate things. I literally put in the back of my car and I paid it forward and I gave it to a community center in Huntington. And I did donate it for them. So again, it takes a village.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
It does. Well, that's it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and what else? YouTube as Sandra Roman Real Estate. And we'll see you, everybody. Ring the bell. We'll see you next week. Same place, same time.
Same time, same place.
Adios.
Yep.
Adios.
Thank you.
Amigos. Adios, amigos.
Buenas
noches. Pórtense bien. Ay, todavía no termino aquí. Oh, yeah, it's finished.